Hey guys, it's no secret that losing fat is hard. If it weren't hard, everyone would be doing it. It takes consistency, it takes willpower, it takes discipline, it takes a whole lot of hard work. But that being said, I do think a lot of people make it a lot more difficult than it necessarily needs to be. So today I wanted to give you my top 3 tips for staying in a calorie deficit to lose fat. Honestly, 2 of these tips are great for if you're trying to build muscle too, so like no matter what your goals are, this should help you. Now, calorie tracking is not for everyone. If you're like, yo, Marissa, calorie tracking and I just don't mix. When I start tracking, it gets super restrictive, I end up binging, it's just a bad time. Then if you want to lose fat still, I recommend checking out my video that I made all about how to lose fat without tracking macros, any numbers at all. I will link that down in the description box below. But I do have to say that if you can track macros, if you can track calories, tracking does tend to be more efficient. It just takes a lot of the guesswork out, there's a lot less wiggle room, and so you can generally make progress faster. So these tips are designed with my macro tracking friends in mind, although I will say tip number 2 is very applicable if you are trying to lose fat without tracking also, so just skip ahead to that one if that's what you're doing. Leave a comment down below and let me know what your current fitness goals are. Are you trying to lose some quarantine fat? Are you trying to do the winter bulking season? You trying to get a faster mild time? Whatever you're trying to accomplish, let me know. I'm curious. Give this video a big thumbs up if you're excited to learn these tips. Hit that subscribe button to see future videos with even more tips. And without further ado, let's get into the ABCs of calorie deficit. And by ABCs, I actually did do it alphabetically, and it's A and then B and then C. So just thought it was fun, cool way to organize the video. Anyway, tip number 1, tip number A is averages. This is a game changer. Literally, every time anyone implements this, it is a game changer, and it is to aim for a weekly average for your macros rather than a specific goal day to day. Your body functions on averages, whether you're trying to lose fat, build muscle, whatever. You don't like hit a reset button every 24 hours where your body gets ready for like a new set of macros. And if you've tried to lose fat before, you've seen this in action. If you're in a 500 calorie deficit one day, you don't immediately lose 2.3 ounces of fat for every day you're in a 500 calorie deficit. It'd be nice if the body worked like that, but it doesn't. Therefore, your dieting doesn't have to work like that. So what I recommend doing is writing down your daily macros and then aiming for an average for those macros for the week. And I actually created a nifty tool for this because I was doing this and I just was so tired of trying to calculate every single average every single day to figure out where I was and how to do it. I was like, I need to make this a nice little pretty Excel spreadsheet. So there's a pretty little Excel spreadsheet that I like to call the macro averager. I have an entire video that goes in detail into how to use it and how it's extremely transformative, like not trying to toot my own horn. I've just used it with a lot of clients. They're all like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Past Marissa explain how to use this tool really quick, and then we'll come back to here and talk about why it's so helpful. So this is the tool, and what you do is you input your goals. So these are your different macro goals. Let's say for protein, you want to hit 110 grams of protein, you want 275 grams of carbs, and you want 90 grams of fat for a total of 2,350 calories per day or on average for the week. And then as you go through the week, you input what your actual intake is. So let's say on day 1, Monday, if that's your day 1, you had 100 grams of protein, you had 287 grams of carbs, and then you had 87 grams of fat, and it spits out your total calorie intake for that day. So not only is this tool going to give you your daily calories, but if you start inputting your different macros throughout the week, it's going to spit out your average weekly macros and your average calories for the week. So let me just throw an example in here real quick. And then as you put in these numbers throughout the week, you can see that the numbers in the difference column change to show you how far off you are from your goal for the week. And so you can see if you need to increase or decrease to make up for certain deficiencies or surpluses in whatever area they're in. So you can see that, you know, if you're over on carbs, the difference is it's actually going to be negative. Maybe I should change that. But right now the difference is negative, so you need to eat fewer carbs so that you can hit your weekly average. As soon as you start tracking based on averages rather than trying to hit exact numbers day to day, you start to see how little of a difference seemingly big day-to-day food decisions make when it comes to your weekly average intake. You can be literally a couple hundred calories over or under one day, and it really doesn't actually make that big of a difference. So there's a few huge benefits to tracking this way. Number one is that it just makes being in a calorie deficit easier because you have so much more flexibility. It removes so much stress from the day-to-day decision making about food. Like, you go out to a restaurant, you don't have to worry that you hit your exact macros that day. You can go out and enjoy a meal with friends and not have it drastically set you back, or at least feel like it's drastically setting you back. And this leads to giving you so much more food freedom. It takes your focus away from the numbers. It takes the stress out of being precise day to day, and it takes the guilt away from not being precise every single day. A lot of the times when people try to be in a calorie deficit, try to hit their macros every day, they get tripped up on day like 3 or 4 when their macros aren't perfectly precise, and then they just snowball from there and end up binging or just going off the rails, quitting whatever they're doing and not making progress because of that. And this completely eliminates the need for any of that. It also allows you to be a lot more intuitive with your eating. So once you get to your goals, it's a lot easier to transition to just purely intuitive eating for maintenance. Obviously, you can't eat 100% intuitively and eat in a deficit or in a surplus because your body drives homeostasis. So if you eat 100% intuitively, you're gonna eat at maintenance. But it does give you that flexibility for if you are like really, really hungry one day, you can have a little bit more. Or if you're feeling less hungry one day, you can take advantage of that and eat a little bit less. And then lastly, it also slows the metabolic adaptation process that comes with being in a prolonged deficit. Now, this is not a replacement for doing the mini cut cycles like I talk about in my video that's like all about the most important thing for losing weight. Definitely recommend checking out that video if you haven't seen that and you're trying to lose fat and you keep plateauing. It will explain why you keep plateauing. So while doing mini cut cycles is still really important, undulating your calories throughout the week by just aiming for an average and not being precise day to day is also going to give you some higher days, some lower days, and it's going to keep your metabolism from just adapting straight down to your calorie deficit. Tip number 2, point B, is big breakfast. This has recently become one of my favorite tips because it's something that not a lot of people give as much thought to as I think they do. Because here's what I see all the time. As soon as you give someone a calorie limit, as soon as you're like, okay, this is where you have to hit, you have to stop here. They think, okay, I need to save all those calories because I only have a certain amount. It becomes a scarcity mindset, obviously, because you do have a limited number of calories. And so what this leads to is people tend to have the smallest breakfast possible and just save the calories until the end of the day. And what this leads to is, well, actually quite a few not so great things, but the big thing is feeling starving all day, feeling super restricted, getting to dinner, and then just leading to binging, basically. They get to dinner, have a normal sized dinner, start eating dessert, and they just can't stop eating things because they felt so restricted during the beginning of the day. But if you flip that on its head, if you start your day, whether you're intermittent fasting or not, it doesn't have to be at breakfast time, just your first meal. If your first meal is satisfying and satiating and you enjoy it and you don't finish feeling like you want to eat 5 more of whatever you just had, then you can spend the next few hours or even until dinner feeling super full, happy, satiated, and not get to dinner feeling like you need to eat literally all of the food. People ask me all the time how I eat basically 2 meals a day. Sometimes I have a snack, most of the time I have dessert, but usually when I eat is like a huge breakfast and then a pretty good sized dinner, and I am good to go and I don't feel restricted. As soon as I finish my breakfast, I'm happy and I am mentally and physically satiated. It's not just the physical part, it's also the mental part. Like, I feel like I have not necessarily indulged, but at the very least eaten my fill. I've been known to eat 1,000 calorie breakfasts. The chocolate frosty bowl that I usually have is usually around 1,000 calories. And for a lot of people, eating 1,000 calories for breakfast sounds terrifying because if your calorie limit for the day in a deficit is like 1,700 calories, then that only leaves you with 700 more calories. You've already eaten more than half of your daily allotment, but here's the thing. You won't feel the need to eat a ton more calories because you will already have eaten a ton of calories. As soon as you can break that cycle and stop feeling the need to eat more calories like an hour after breakfast, you'll realize how much more freedom it gives you, at least mentally, from constantly thinking about food when you've already satiated yourself. Now, we don't necessarily think everyone needs to eat 1,000-calorie breakfasts, but that's just kind of what I've ended up doing, and it works really well for me. Basically, the takeaway from this is that sticking with specific macros in a deficit is really freaking hard, especially when you're not distributing them in a way to maximize your satiety. Does everyone need a huge breakfast? No, but I think almost everyone is going to benefit from having their first meal be fully satiating. Tip number 3 with the letter C is customize your macros. People always want to know if they need to cut carbs to lose fat, or if they're eating too much fat to lose fat. But the thing is, the best macro ratio for fat loss or muscle building or health or performance or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish depends purely on your body. The macro ratio that's gonna help you lose fat or build muscle most effectively and efficiently is the one that makes you feel the best and is most sustainable for you. No calculator is gonna be able to pinpoint that for you. Here's the thing. As long as you're eating the minimum of what you need to like be healthy and accomplish your goals, beyond that, play around with it and figure out what makes you feel the best. Because if you feel the best that you can train harder. You will recover better. You will have more motivation. You will just generally feel better. As far as the minimums go, these are kind of just guidelines rather than hard and fast rules. These are kind of more my personal general suggestions. For protein, if you're trying to lose fat or build muscle, you do kind of want to be on the higher side, maybe eating more than you need necessarily to just be healthy. And so that's going to look more like 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of lean mass. Not total body weight, lean mass. I have a whole video that breaks down protein, how much you need, how to get more of it, etc. So I will link that down in the description box below. Goes into like what the difference between eating based on lean mass versus total body weight is and all that good stuff, so check that out. For fat, there is no official recommendation based on your body weight. It's all based on calorie intake, which is dumb. So dumb, because if you're drastically under eating, then your fat's gonna be way below what is healthy. So I conservatively like to recommend about 0.35 grams per pound of total body weight, but this is going to fluctuate a little bit. Then as far as carbs go, technically they're not necessary. You don't have to eat carbs to live or to be healthy. However, carbs are useful. So again, this is gonna kind of come down to what feels the best for your body. Also, if you're trying to build muscle, you really do want to be eating like more carbs, because carbs are really helpful for that. And beyond those minimums, the goal should be to find the macro ratio that makes you feel good. There's a lot of different things that go into what feeling good actually means. So you want to find a macro ratio that optimizes your energy, your strength, your stamina, your workout recovery as indicated by soreness, your mental clarity and focus, your sleep quality, your mood, your satiety, your cravings, your digestion, bloating, and my favorite, the quality of your poop. If you try increasing fat and lowering carbs and you find that your digestion is sluggish, you have insane cravings, and your recovery after your workouts isn't as good, then maybe you need to increase the carbs and decrease the fat. Or if you try higher carb, lower fat, and you find that your energy just isn't quite right, you're bloated all the time, and your focus at school or at work is suffering, then that might not be a great macro ratio for you. I highly recommend taking the time to play around with and experiment with your macros, because if you can optimize your macros, you can optimize your results. Making a few tweaks in your macro ratios can make a huge difference in how you feel in your calorie deficit, which will make it a lot easier to stick to, and it'll just help you maintain more muscle, help you get better sleep, help you maintain your health as you lose fat, and all of that good stuff. A few years ago, I actually made a video all about how to really dial in your perfect macro ratio. Again, I made a whole Excel spreadsheet tool for it. I'm just kind of an Excel nerd. And in that video, I walk you through step by step how to really determine what macro ratio is going to optimize your results by making you feel the best. So again, I will link that video down in the description box below if you really want to get into the nitty gritty and get kind of nerdy about it. I think it's a lot of fun. Definitely recommend doing it. And those are my top tips for dieting in a calorie deficit. If you have tried any of these out, let me know how they went for you down in the comments below. And if you have any more suggestions, please also leave those down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up because it really does support me and my channel. I really genuinely appreciate it. Please share this video with your friends, your family, and your neighbors. If you want to see more videos from me with tips and tricks, etc., make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you get notified when I post a video, and I will see you very soon. Bye.